Hey everyone, today is the day after Christmas 2022 and just a couple days before Christmas hit, well, weather hit us around here and we ended up running on generator with power outages for almost a 24-hour period here. And it made me think of doing a quick video. First was going to be a review of our generator, then I thought just about how everyone should maybe think about being prepared for a power outage in case it happens to you. Now, one thing to consider, especially if power outage happens to you during the winter time. See, I heat my home with firewood, and over the last year I ended up building a nice woodshed and have it pretty well stocked, doing well. I actually had a secondary woodshed here that we've brought in most of the wood and burned already. But that's kind of step one, is to have yourself some sort of a fuel source, if you can, to heat your home. Another thing to really consider is have a lot of candles, because believe it or not, candles both put off a lot of heat, but they also kind of give you that sense of security, like having a fire if you're lost in the woods, believe it or not, you know. Especially if it's cold, I think a good thing to consider is food preps. And I mean like keeping the food that's in your refrigerator and or freezers, because boy, if you've been to the grocery store lately, and I'm sure you have, filling a grocery cart nowadays is something like, you know, a $250 endeavor. So you want to consider saving your food. If the power goes out probably within a half an hour and it's not coming back on, if you're not able to start up a generator to get some power going to save that stuff, maybe put it outside if it's wintertime in a cooler or something of the sort, to at least, if it's cold outside, at least your food will stay fresh and you don't have to go and dump everything out a few days after you just bought it. But if you are an American, we live in a pretty spoiled society, and having electricity is one of these comforts that we never realize how much we appreciate it until we don't have it. And keeping you and your family comfortable is pretty important. Now, a few years ago, we upgraded our home generator to this Harbor Freight Predator model, and it is the 9,000 starting watt, but it's running on 7,250, and it is powerful enough to run pretty much our entire household. But a few things to consider is, do you have fuel for your generator? And is that fuel stabilized? I must say, very impressed. I had stabilized fuel in this thing, and it is set to run for 13 hours. If you can see that, and it does. It actually did run for 13 hours. It holds something like 6 gallons of fuel, give or take, and very impressed. I must say, I went with the electric start and have it always on a trickle charger, and to come out here and to fire that thing up just by pressing the button, wow, very impressed. And this thing ran for us for that, you know, 12 to 13 hours of time before I let it, you know, shut down to cool down and refuel it. Very nice to have. Now, I have our generator in this little structure that I built out of my daughter's old little playhouse. You can see the roof there, and kind of underneath the deck here behind the house, just to keep it out of the weather. But I also had bought the wheel kit. I must say, that generator, super heavy. When we first used it a couple years ago during a power outage in the summertime, it took 3 of us to like lift it up and out of the basement where we had it, and it was like, yeah, okay, that's not going to work. So that's the other kind of a thing. If you do have a generator, think about where you're going to put it. Now, this thing here is there. When we run it, we are able to pull it straight out and run it out here away from the house. Have the exhaust facing away from the house. We have carbon monoxide detectors that work while we're on generator, and you know, most importantly, we're you know, preserving all of the food in our freezer. We're hunters here, so we have freezers that have a bunch of meat that we've worked really hard to go out and get, and food in general is very expensive, so definitely something to consider. Hooking up the generator to your house, obviously that's a whole nother subject there. You want to make sure you're doing things right with one of those Gen-Trans switches, or however you're going to do it, but you know, work with an electrician. But even if you just have a small generator that you're able to plug in your refrigerator and freezer and a few other things, very nice luxury to have for sure, especially in the cold winter. So just in recap, on the news this morning, which I said yesterday was Christmas, there were still folks in our area in New Hampshire that had been out of power until this morning, and I think the crews are still working. So imagine being 3 days, and I'm sure people out there have dealt with this, 3+ days in the dead of winter where it is, not sure you can see my breath, you know, 10 degrees outside, give or take. And if you have just a few things ready and prepared, that, you know, this kinds of situations don't turn into an absolute nightmare with broken pipes, but, you know, possibly kind of a fun thing, because, you know, if you remember when you were a kid, power goes out and everyone's got candles huddled around a table playing Scrabble or something like that. So if you can, you know, get your heat source stacked up like firewood, or make sure that your propane tanks or whatever you're going to be using is full, that's one thing. Having a bunch of candles aside and some easy to eat food that doesn't need to be cooked on a stove, I think that's a great idea for everybody. If you can, borrow, barter, you know, or buy a generator, I think that is just such a really good thing for most people to have, or put on the list of goals to make sure you're working on having sometime in the near future for your family to be comfortable in these types of situations. But anyways, I hope everyone's doing well out there, and power's on and things are well, and had a good holiday. And just a quick little shot, I just wanted to mention that was on my mind, thinking about people being out in the cold right now. So hope everyone's doing well. Get outside, keep your hands dirty if you can, and I'll catch you next time.